Okay, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, as we are studying together Perashat Vayikra. Today's class is sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all of Am Yisrael. Rabotai, as we are entering the holiday in the spirit of Purim, we know that there are certain Perashiot that we read on Shabbat besides for the weekly portion. So as an example, this week, instead of only reading Perashat Vayikra, we're going to take out a second Sefer Torah, and the last Aliyah of the day, the Aliyat Maftir, instead of it being a portion that's reread from the Perashah of this week, which is Perashat Vayikra, we're going to actually read a different Perashah. That happens overall 4 times in the course of the month leading up to Pesach. This week we have a special Shabbat. This Shabbat is called Shabbat Zachor. The Shabbat of Zachor. Zachor means to remember. Why is it called Shabbat Zachor? Because we're going to take out an extra Torah and we're going to read the last Aliyah of this week's Perashah is going to be the Zachor, the mitzvah to remember what Amalek did to us. This Shabbat is Shabbat Zachor. We know the Jewish people were leaving Misraim when we left Egypt. The Pasuk tells us at the end of Perashat Beshalach that all of a sudden Vayavo Amalek Vayilahem et Israel berfidim, and they started attacking us. They started fighting us in Refidim, and the truth is, we weren't a threat to them. We didn't do anything to them. We were minding our own business. The Torah says, never forget what Amalek did to you. Take a look. Vayomer Adonai Moshe ketov zot zikaron basefer. God says to Moshe, I want you to write this as a remembrance in the book. Vesim be'oznei Yehoshua, and I want you to put it in the ears of Joshua. Ki maho emhe et zecher Amalek. I'm going to erase the memory of Amalek mitachat hashamayim, from under the heavens. Right? Vayiven Moshe mizbeach. Moshe builds an altar. He calls out in the name of God, and God says his hand, Amalek's hand, was attacking the throne of God. It's a war unto Hashem from generation to generation. Okay, so really we find over here, God tells Moshe to make sure that we don't forget. Lo tishkach. Okay, to remember what Amalek did to us. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Now really, the passage of Amalek is discussed a second time in Perashat Ki Tetzeh, and that's what we're going to read tomorrow. So here, if you go to the book of Deuteronomy, it's written again. Chapter 25, Zachor tasher asa lecha Amalek baderech betzetchem Misraim. Remember what Amalek did to you when you were leaving Egypt. Asher karecha baderech, who just happened to see you on the road, and he attacked you from behind when you were vulnerable. And when God gives you peace in Israel, make sure to wipe them out. Lo tishkach. So we have, my friends, a positive commandment and a negative commandment to remember what Amalek did to us. And this mitzvah is meant to be fulfilled by speaking about it, of course, but technically the way to fulfill this mitzvah deoraita, it's a mitzvah from the Torah, we fulfill it once a year by reading about it out loud in shul, in synagogue, and that's going to take place tomorrow, men and women. So please tell your wives, please tell your daughters, please tell your children, this is the one day a year that women have to go to shul. Women don't have to go to shul on Rosh Hashanah. They should. They don't have to. Tomorrow, women have to go to shul. They have to go listen to the reading of Amalek as we remember what Amalek did to us. So this is, of course, going to be a heavy topic. Many rabbis, I'm sure, will discuss at length what is going on, what is Amalek, what do they represent. Okay, but let's just talk today a little bit about this idea of Zachor, of remembering Amalek, okay? Now again, like we said, why is Amalek so bad? On a simple level, they attacked us for no good reason. We weren't bothering them. We were on our merry way. We were minding our own business. We were in the desert. We were weak. We were vulnerable. We posed no threat to anybody. We weren't fighting no one. And we were going to get our own Torah, and they came for no good reason. Therefore, when the time comes, God says, I want you to wipe them out and make sure every single day you teach your children. Every year you remind them of the evil and the viciousness of Amalek, so that when the time comes, we can wipe them out. There has been a point in history where the Jewish people were almost able to wipe them out in the time of Shaul HaMelech, King Saul, God sends him to go and wipe out Amalek once and for all, and he could have done it, he would have done it. He made one mistake, he kept the king alive, and even though they eventually killed the king, that was enough to allow the seed of Amalek to continue and to move on. Eventually, we know who was a descendant of Amalek. Haman, right? Haman was a descendant, Haman Ha'agagi, he was a descendant of Agag, who was the king of Amalek. By the way, that's why technically you could pick any year, any day, any week, any Shabbat of the year, any Shabbat, and say, okay, every year, in the middle of April, in the middle of May, in the middle of June, whatever, pick any month, and every year on this Shabbat, we're going to read Amalek out loud. And you would be able to technically fulfill the mitzvah that way. Why do we do it this Shabbat? Why are we remembering this week? We could pick any week. Do it in the summer. Do it in the winter. Do it in fall. Maybe do it in Rosh Hashanah. The beginning of the year, okay, everyone? We're going to fulfill the mitzvah of remembering Amalek right off as we kick off the year. Right in the beginning. But we do it now. Why now? Makes sense. We understand why. Because who is a descendant of Amalek? It's Haman. And so we're also remembering in the time and the year, in the holiday of Purim, where Haman tried to do the same thing. This is really just another chapter of what Amalek did to us in the desert. Haman tried to do to us in Shushan. Like the pasuk that we read said, Midor Dor. This is a battle from generation to generation. Every generation there are Amaleks that try to get up and kill us. Every generation there are people who try to destroy the Jewish people for no reason. They're not people that were trying to take their land. They're not people that were trying to kill them. People that we have nothing to do with them. And as a matter of fact, our rabbis tell us that anyone that tries to destroy the Jewish people is a spiritual heir to the legacy of Amalek. Actually, our rabbis tell us something very interesting. Our rabbis say that what is the reason that we read the Megillah? Anyone know why we read the Megillah? So of course we all know the basic reason. The simple function of reading the Megillah is in order to achieve Pirsumei Nisa, to publicize the miracle of Purim. That's why we read the Megillah. That's reason number one. But really, the commentaries point out that we fulfill another commandment when we read the Megillah, and that is to remember Amalek. To remember how Amalek tried to destroy us. When we read the story of Purim through the Megillah, we remember how Haman, a descendant of Amalek, tried to destroy Am Yisrael. By the way, we know that on Hanukkah, we have a Pirsumei Nisa. We publicize the miracle. And how do we publicize the miracle? We light a menorah. Why do we have to read a Megillah in Purim? We don't read a Megillah on Hanukkah. We don't read about the story in order to publicize the miracle. We light a candle. So on Purim, let us do something. Why can't the Mishloach Manot suffice as a remembrance? The same way on Hanukkah you light, so do something here. Why do we read the story? Where did the rabbis even get that from, to write it up, to put it into a Megillah? Where did they get that? We didn't put Hanukkah into a Megillah. We didn't put Pesach into a Megillah. This has, all of a sudden, a Megillah. Our rabbis in the Gemara learned it from the pasuk that we just read when it comes to Amalek. When God says to Moshe, Ketov Zot Zikaron Basefer, write this in a book. Put it down, ink onto paper, ink onto parchment. Write this story down. Now that pasuk has nothing to do with Amalek, with Haman. That pasuk, like we said, is talking about Amalek and remembering what Amalek did to us. But the Gemara learns from those words, just like we write down Amalek, we must write down Haman in a Megillah version. And therefore, we see beautifully that the function of Megillat Esther is not only to publicize the miracle. If it was just to publicize the miracle, there are many ways to remember the miracle. But it was also serving as a remembrance of Amalek and what they tried to do to us. Okay? Of course, we have to ask, why remember at all? What's the point of remembering? The answer is obvious. We remember so that when the time comes to wipe them out, we will know why we are wiping them out. Right? Amalek represents a nation that just has hatred for us for no reason. Our rabbis say, halacha, Esav sonei Yaakov. There is a halacha. What is a halacha? It's a rule. There is a rule. There's rules of nature. There's also rules of history. There's rules of nations. Esav hates Yaakov. It's something that can't always be explained, but it's something that exists and it's true. In every generation there are Esavs that get up and we wonder why. What do we do to you? Why are there people in the world that are hating on us? Why is it that if Israel does one thing, not even so wrong, the whole world's down our throats? What do we do? Where does the anti-Semitism come from? This all dates back to Esav Sonei Yaakov. Esav and all of the descendants of Esav sometimes are those that continue that hatred. Of course, there are many Esavs, there are many Goyim that don't. There are many Semites, right? Lover of Jews. But there are many anti-Semites. There are many anti-Semites that, just like when we came out of Egypt, Amalek attacked us for no reason. So too there are today Amaleks that attack us for no reason. But today I would like to share with you something from Rabbi Bernstein over here, a little bit deeper, a very powerful idea. Okay, just to recap what we said till now is that, again, Amalek, the hatred for them is because they tried killing us. The halakha says if someone tries to kill you, what do? Haba lehorgecha, hashkem lehorgo. Someone tries to kill you, you get up and you kill them. Self-defense. Amalek has in their blood, it's in their genes. They want to kill us for no reason, so we have to get up and wipe them out. But there is a deeper reason, Rabotai, of what this battle with Amalek represents. Because you see, the Pasuk doesn't just say that it's a battle against us. The Pasuk says, going back to the Pasuk in Shemot, and again, we have to keep flipping between these two places in the Chumash. One in the end of Beshalach, and one in the end of Kitetze. Right at the end of Beshalach, what does it say? Milhama ladonai ba'amalek. The Pasuk emphasizes that it wasn't just a battle against the Jewish nation. It was a milchama ladonai ba'amalek. It's a battle as well against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we wonder, in what way exactly was this battle with Amalek against God? What does it mean? What does it mean that they battled against Hashem? And really, we're going to see now that Amalek is not just a nation in a physical sense, but Amalek really is a mentality. Amalek, and you could have even people today that are Amalekim, not because they're descendants of Amalek, but because they carry that same philosophy, the same mentality, the same ideology that Amalek stood for. What was Amalek all about? What did Amalek represent in an ideological sense? Again, historically they tried killing us, that's physically. But ideology, the Pasuk says, Asher karecha baderech. And these three words really tell us everything that we need to know about Amalek. Amalek, from the word karecha. They came karecha on the road. What's karecha mean? Our rabbis tell us the word karecha in Hebrew comes from the Hebrew word mikre. Mikre means, what does mikre mean? Coincidence. And rabbis tell us that Amalek's ideology was that everything in this world is random. Everything happens to be. Interestingly, Haman himself, when he tries to kill the Jewish people, he does a lottery. He doesn't say, listen, let me just do it on this date. He flips a coin. He rolls dice. And he's basically telling us, like his grandpa said, your fate will be left up to chance. I'm going to leave your survival in the day that you will be annihilated up to a pure roll of dice, to pure luck. That's what Haman was saying when he rolls the dice. I'm going to leave it up to chance, because that was his mentality. There's only chance. There is no person, there is no God that's involved in this world. Everything that happens is a coincidence. Now, when the Jewish people emerged from Misraim, when we came out of Egypt, and how did we get out? God took us out. Hashem came down from the heavens and he brought down the makot, he brought the plagues, he splits the sea. The Jewish people were living testimony. We were evidence, so to speak, contradicting everything that Haman and Amalek stood for. So Amalek is here one day showing you and telling the world that there is no God. Now, by the way, it's not that they didn't believe in God at all. There's for sure God. There's for sure Hashem. But he's not involved down here. Hashem created the world, but he's up there. He has important things. He's got his own stuff. He's busy. You think Hashem is involved in this world with us little people? He could care less. There's no reward, there's no punishment, there's no providence, there's no hashgacha pratit. Do whatever you like, live however you want. It doesn't matter to Hashem. That's what Amalek believed. And when we came out of Egypt, we were loud and clear testimony that God is involved. God is watching. He does see. And we cried out to him and he took us out of Egypt. And he brought down the plagues. He rocked Misraim. Now, if you're Amalek and you see that, you now have a problem. And their goal now is to do one thing: bury the evidence. That's what Amalek has to do. Because if we make it out into the news, we're going to put this up on social media. We're going to tell everybody, hi everyone, we're here. Everyone's going to say, wow, okay, this is proof against Amalek's ideology. Amalek, bye-bye. So Amalek comes and they try to destroy us before we can make it to the news, before we can publicize that we came out of Misraim. They have to literally destroy any evidence and remembrance of Am Yisrael. That's why they come to us baderech, in the desert. Before we could make it into any civilization, they had to quickly come and destroy us. Obviously, some of us may be wondering, 1 second, if Amalek had a mentality or an ideology that there is no God, and then there's proof and evidence that there is a God, because, hi everyone, we're here, the Jews, we're proof of that. So wouldn't you think that Amalek would say, okay, I guess it's time for us to reconsider our faith, reconsider our credo, and maybe we should start believing in God. After all, the Jews are here. But that's not what they did, right? Because that's not how beliefs work. That's not how credos work. In life, unfortunately, sometimes when people have a certain theory, when they have a certain belief, you could bring them all the proof in the world. You know, sometimes people don't want to believe in Hashem. And you could sit there and you could talk to them and bring them evidence and explain to them rationally. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't want to believe, all the evidence is just a waste of time. Right? Einstein once said, if the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts. Unbelievable. And that's really what Amalek tries to do. And you see that today so much, unfortunately. You know, when sometimes there's proof that certain systems work, certain political ideas are the right way. And unfortunately, the narrative, you know, you see it today with COVID especially, how there's a certain agenda, there's a certain way that people want to drive, history and politics, and so they'll change the facts. They'll create whatever numbers need to be created for deaths to prove their way, and then vice versa. When all of a sudden they don't need to have COVID anymore, then they go and undo the deaths. Maybe we were miscounting. All of a sudden now you thought that maybe we were counting incorrectly. So unfortunately, we live in a time of sheker. We live in a time that facts don't matter. Evidence is worthless. All that matters is what I want to believe, and I'll make sure that I bring the evidence that supports that version, that supports that path. Believing in God is not an easy thing. To believe in God means that I now have to live my life with obligations. To believe in a God that governs this world means that I have to live my life with a moral responsibility. If I deny God, it's easy. I could do what I like, I could eat what I like, I could talk how I like, I could act how I like. There's no one that's going to I have to answer up to, right? Really, rationally, if you think about it, if you go to someone and say, listen, I have two options here. One of them is to believe in a God, one of them is to not believe in a God. Which one would you rather believe? Before evidence, which one makes more sense? Which one would you rather be the final outcome? If I offer you to choose before I present any facts, everybody would opt, I think, no God. Why? Because when I pick no God, I can now live my life without having to worry about anything. I can do anything I like. I live what I want. Person says, would you rather live with a government or without a government? With rules or no rules? Ask every kid. Would you rather rules or no rules? I'd rather no rules. Would you rather bedtime or no bedtime? I'd rather no bedtime. Because once there's a bedtime, once there are rules, now I have to do what my parents tell me. We would rather live life without any responsibility. Saying that there is a God puts on me a moral obligation. So really, Amalek's choice, denying Hashem in this world, is the easier option. And when there's proof against their mentality, against their religion, against their ideology, you know what's that called in English, by the way? There's a word for this in psychology. It's called denial. You know what's denial? I'll tell you what denial is. Denial is not, I'm going to read it to you the way it's written here. Beautifully written, okay? Denial is not the refusal to recognize something in the absence of evidence attesting to its existence, but it's the refusal to recognize something in the presence of such evidence. That means denial is literally when you could be telling someone, hello, these drugs are destroying your life. Hello, these cigarettes are killing you. Hello, these drinks are ruining your marriage. Hello, this behavior of yours is ruining your performance at work. And there's evidence proving it. And the person looks at you in the eyes and says, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. That's denial. When I could present you with evidence and you could still just ignore the facts. You see it unfortunately today. How could it be? Just 70 years later, there are Holocaust deniers. How could it be? When you have every fact in the world, all the proof, you have living survivors, we have everything that you want. And there are people that could get up and they will say it never happened. And coincidentally, obviously it's not a coincidence, all the Holocaust deniers are people that hate Jews. It's not a coincidence that those two happen to be hand in hand. Because sometimes when you have a certain belief, if you could hate someone, then you could deny anything that happened. You know, my friend was once in his office, and a black fellow came to him and he said, you know, the Holocaust never happened. And my friend said back to him, yeah, blacks were never slaves. Right? Of course, it'd be crazy for someone to say that. No one today would say, oh, do you have proof? Do you have footage? Right? But for some reason, you could have a whole group of people in the world that would say that about the Holocaust. Interestingly, by the way, Amalek comes, their name, Amalek, comes from two words. Am-lek. What does Am-lek mean? Am means in Hebrew one thing, and lek means something else. Let's go backwards. Lek is, in Hebrew, means to lick like a dog. Okay? This is what Amalek wanted. Amalek wanted to live like a dog, to live like an animal with no responsibility, with no moral obligation. I could do what I want. I could urinate where I want. I could eat when I want. I could sleep with who I want. That's what Amalek wanted. They wanted to lick. They wanted to live like an animal. Obviously, it's hard to do that if you believe in a God, if you believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what do they have to next do? The next step in their two-step program is to then Am. Am means to dim, to diminish, to kind of remove the awareness of God and the existence of God in this world. If I could do those two things, then I could live the way I want. And so when we come out of Mitzrayim, when we're living testimony that there is a God, Amalek has one goal, they have one mission, that is to try to destroy and wipe out any evidence that God is involved in this world that we live in. You know, something very beautiful. The Pasuk says, Kiyad al-Kesiyah. The hand of Amalek was against the throne of God. I want you to write those words. I'm going to write them down as well. Kes, what's kes? Kes is chair, right? Kes like kiseh, right? Is a chair. So it says that Amalek's hand was on the chair of God. Kes, okay? And then Yah. Yah is God's name, Yud Kei. Okay? Okay, look, I'm writing it out for you. It says that their hand was against the chair of God. Okay? Now, obviously, our rabbis notice right away that the words chair and God are both missing letters. What letter is the word kes missing? How do you spell chair? Chaf, samich, aleph. It's missing an aleph. We're going to write that on the side, okay? And the word Yud Kei, the chair of Hashem's name, is missing which two letters? How do you spell God's name? Yud Kei, Vav Kei. So it's missing the two letters of Vav and Hey. Okay? So these are the letters that are missing. We say a pasuk every day in the prayers, Yismehu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz. Let the heavens rejoice and let the earth be glad. Yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz. Now really, our rabbis point out that the acronym of those four words, Yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz, spells out God's name. Yud, K, Vav, K. Yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz. Yud, K, Vav, K. Yismechu hashamayim, the first two words, let the heavens rejoice. That kind of represents God dwelling in the heavens. Amalek had no problem believing that. Amalek accepts that Hashem exists in the heavens. So they have no problem with God's name of Yud K. Yud K they're okay with. But they don't believe that God has as well come down and transitioned his existence into this world. They don't accept V'tagel haaretz, the earth, that God is down here. They don't believe. Hashamayim, up there in the heavens, that's where he belongs. But haaretz, no. God is not down here. Don't bring him into this world. So they deny the Vav K. That's why the pasuk only has Yud K, because Amalek doesn't have a problem in believing these two letters. The problem is the Vav K, and our job really, when we say every day, Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad, on that day, Hashem will be complete. U'shmo echad, his name will be complete. And what we're saying and what we're hinting to is that God's name, Yud K, will be complete, will add the Vav K, and that his chair will be complete as well with the extra aleph. Maybe that's what it means. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad. If you write out the word Hu, Bayom hahu, on that day, spell out the word Hu. Hey, Vav, right? Hey, Vav, Aleph. Those are the three letters that are missing. And our job is really to add the Hey, Vav, Aleph, the Bayom hahu, into the missing letters of what Amalek tried to remove. Very powerful idea. Again, but this only happens when we destroy Amalek and when we destroy everything that Amalek believed in. We believe, we represent God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We represent that God is involved in this world. And Amalek is going to do anything and everything to try to remove that. You know, rabbis tell us that Amalek, in a way, is compared to a letz. Anyone know what's a letz? A letz is, we translate as a scoffer. A lex is someone who mocks. Right? Why do people mock? I'll ask you a question over here. Stop for a minute. Why do people make fun? Right? Either they make fun of rabbis, they make fun of politicians. Right? Why is it that people do that? So a lot of times, okay, this is why we mock. A lot of times, someone says something that's important. Someone says something that has truth to it, right? Let's just go back to our example. Doctor says, don't smoke. The rabbi says something that has a lot of truth. And unfortunately, sometimes those truths that are being said make me feel uncomfortable. The rabbi says how important it is to do something, halachically. Now, I'm not on that level yet. I don't keep that halacha yet. So I'm now uncomfortable. The rabbi said something that makes sense, but now I don't do that thing, so my life doesn't make sense. The doctor said something that makes sense, that has reason. Now I still smoke. So now my life is incorrect. If the doctor who said something has wisdom, said something important, and I'm not following those orders, so that puts me in a very uncomfortable situation. You know what the solution is? What we do, the response, the result is that we have to devalue the thing that the doctor or that the rabbi or that the parent said. If we could diminish it, if we could make fun of them, then I can just basically throw away everything that was said and I don't have to worry because I am making light of something important. That's what mockery is. a litz takes something very important and makes a joke out of it as if it's not important. Doctor says something, and then you make a joke. This doctor's a buffoon. Rabbi says something, and we don't like what that rabbi said, so we just start making fun of the rabbi. Parents say something. We don't want to hear what our parents have to say, so we start making fun. They're old, they're disconnected, they're old school, they don't get it. And when we can mock something, we could take away the value and the importance of the person that was saying it. So now anything that they said matters no more to me. Now I can live life how I like. I can do what I like. I can act how I like. Because now I'm no longer uncomfortable. That thing that was said, that was contradicting my lifestyle, was said by a clown. The guy's an idiot. Right? We'll say things. A lot of times you see someone very passionate about certain beliefs, and you can have a very big rabbi. I've seen this all the time. Big Talmid Chacham will get up and will say something that contradicts what this guy said. All the guys say, this rabbi, you ask me, he's the dumbest guy in the world. Guy's a clown. Why are you mocking the rabbi? Because now it's uncomfortable for me to hear that from him. So I have to put him down, and then therefore everything that he says is down. Unbelievable. But we find that the mockery of Amalek didn't come in the form of jokes. How did they come? They didn't come and point fingers and throw balloons and say, what a clown, what a loser, right? They didn't say that. What did Amalek do? They actually went to battle. It's no joking matter. The litzanut, the mockery of Amalek, doesn't always come with a laugh or with a joke or by ridiculing. Our rabbis say, Mashal le'ambati. It's a parable to a very, very hot bath. And everyone saw this bath as untouchable. No one would dare touch it. You're going to get burned. And all of a sudden, one kid comes in and he jumps into the bath. Now, what happens to the kid? He gets burned. He gets hurt. But he showed everybody this bath is not as bad as you thought. You see, look, I went in and he walks away hurt. But in the eyes of the people, he lowers the temperature. This is really what Amalek does. Amalek comes and they fight us. And who lost that battle, by the way? We won. We came out victorious. We forget that. We think, they came, they fought us. No, we killed it. We won that war. Amalek walked away with more deaths. You see today in Russia. It's unbelievable what's going on. It's current events almost. They're losing the battle. But they didn't care. They don't care about losing men. They don't care about killing lives, killing innocent people. It's not on his mind. This lunatic who's so power hungry, right? Amalek could care less about death, could care about numbers. He'll get burned as long as we could cool. The word karecha, what do you mean? What does kar mean in Hebrew? Kar means cold. Amalek, you could say, is the first Cold War, right? Amalek was trying to cool off our power, our koach, in the eyes of the rest of the world. And he was able to a little bit devalue anything that we stood for and we represented. One final point, Rabotai, as we close up for this week, and that is, where does Amalek fight us? The pasuk doesn't just say that they came against us. Vayilahem et Yisrael birfidim. The pasuk stresses where the battle took place. In Refidim. Now, anyone that studied Chumash knows this. That in Refidim, actually the Jewish people made a very big mistake. It's one of the places that we complained and we doubted God. What do we say? The famous words, Hayesh Adonai bekirbenu im ayin. Is God amongst us or not? This is something that we said. And what is the result of that? The result is that Amalek comes to fight us. It's a very powerful message. Our rabbis give a nice parable. There was once a king that had a beautiful vineyard, and he said, nobody enter the vineyard. He puts a fence around it, and he places a vicious dog inside. And he says, anyone that comes to the vineyard will get bit by the dog. Well, one day, who walks into the vineyard? The king's own son. Prince goes into the vineyard, he breaches the fence. The dog comes and bites him. The kid walks out in pain. The kid walks out limping. The king is very upset that his son walked into the vineyard, but he doesn't want to, stick it in his face and say, "Ah, look, remember you disobeyed. Remember you went in the video." So what does the father say instead? Remember how you got bit by the dog. That's what the father says. But really, he doesn't care about the bit by the dog. What does the father really mean? Remember how you disobeyed. Learn your own lesson, but out of respect for his son, he doesn't want to make the son feel bad. He doesn't want to say, remember how you disobeyed. So he says, remember how the dog bit you. But he's hoping that the son will remember, the dog bit me. Why did the dog bite me? Because I disobeyed. When God says, remember what Amalek did to you, that's like the dog biting. It's not to remember what Amalek did. It's more important than that. It's to remember, why did Amalek bite us? Why did the dog bite you? What were you doing in the first place to get bit by a dog? The answer is you were disobeying. When the Jewish people remember Amalek, God says, please don't stop there. Then I want you to take the next step and remember, oh my gosh, why did Amalek come? Because we were doubting God ourselves. In a certain way, we invited Amalek by doubting Hashem's existence, by wondering, can he take care of us? Can he provide food? Can he provide water? Can he provide me parnasah? Does God have a shidduch for me? Does God even know about me not having children? Did God forget about me and what my needs? When we think like that, we are literally inviting Amalek into our lives. When we remember Amalek, it's not only to remember what Amalek did, but it's more important to remember what we did wrong. Of course, Amalek is guilty. Of course, Amalek has to get punished. But Rabotai, you hear the point? So powerful. It's not to point at Amalek and to say, they're bad, and to just close the story there. If we walk away tomorrow after the reading, and all we could say is, how bad Amalek is, we completely miss the point. That's the same thing as the kid walking away and say, what a bad dog. No. We can't stop there. Yes, the dog is bad. But what were you doing in the first place to get bit by the dog? It's your fault. When the Jewish people remember Amalek, they must make that second step of association and realize that in a way, we ourselves were lacking and doubting Hashem's interaction in this world ourselves. We had a little bit of Amalek in us. And according to this, even when Amalek is completely gone, we still have to remember the lesson. It's not only about remembering them, it's really remembering about us. To focus only on the dog is to completely miss the point. And that is something that I think we need to all ask ourselves and think about. Realizing that sometimes we doubt, sometimes we have questions, sometimes we're not sure, is God really care? Does God know me? Does God know what I'm going through? Those thoughts are really what invite Amalek back into this world. To always remember that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is involved, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, kind of like the story of Purim, where God was hiding. And really, we didn't see him. And we wondered, is God here? But then we saw, and we looked back and we said, wait, God was there from the beginning. At every juncture, at every step of the way, God was there. Hashem is involved. Why did Vashti not come? So that she could get killed, to make room for Esther. We didn't realize. But 13 years later, we put the dots, we connected the dots, we put the pieces together. Why didn't Ahashverosh reward Mordechai right in the beginning? So that later when Haman wants to hang him, he won't sleep that night. We realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is behind the scenes. Megillat Esther really brings out this point. And it's interesting that the word Megillat Esther simply means the scroll of Esther. Also in Hebrew means, Megillah means to reveal, legalot. Esther, he who is hidden. Our job on Purim is to reveal God's presence who's hiding and to bring him back into this world. And on that day, Bayom Hahu, Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad, we should be Zocher very soon to those days. Amen. Wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom. Make sure, please, you go tomorrow, listen to Zachor, and of course, to take and incorporate the lessons into our lives. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.